بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجهه الكريم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We welcome you all to another session of the Black Imams Roundtable. Next to me is our beloved Imam Naim Abdullah, aka Imam Genius, aka the Genius of Pittsburgh, or just the genius. But in any case, he's very, very, very intelligent, right? And I am your lowly servant, Amin Muhammad, and we are waiting, as usual, for the Imam of the Boom Bap. I think he be trying to steal the show with this stuff. We need to keep an eye on this guy. Come late, we get all the apples and stuff thrown at us and the ice and the stuff, and then he come in like he's the big star of the show. These kind of guys, man. But we're waiting for him anyway. Ain't nobody came to see him anyway. And we make up the Black Imams. So tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to attempt to read the Imam of the Boom Bap's mind and comment or talk about a subject that he said is very important, that he wasn't on time for. I'm just not going to let that go, right? So, our general and specific duties for our communities. So, in my opening thoughts about that, before we even talk about that, wait. Let us take care of those things we agreed to take care of immediately. So we all, as the Imam of the Boom Bap always say, we already agreed to a $10 donation to our efforts every week so we can continue this work and spread it and move it around the country, which we are doing and have been doing and is still doing. And your assistance and your support for this effort is extremely important. So if everyone could take a moment, a brief moment, and find your choice or method of supporting, whether through our homepage at mmacinc.org/donate and just mark Black Imams Roundtable, or through Cash App at $ Masjid Muhammad AC, mark Black Imams Roundtable, or Zelle donations at mmacinc.org, right? And put Black Imams Roundtable, or paypal.me/mmmacinc, and then put Black Imams Roundtable. In all cases, put Black Imams Roundtable so that we put it in the proper place, inshallah ta'ala. So with that being said, my opening comments about this topic is related to focus. What are the things that we should focus on as a community? And I would like to tap into three things. I like to keep things in threes, being it sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ did things three times, but also three is not too much to keep in mind and easy to tackle. So I would say three things that we need as duties that we need to perform for our communities. To me, the first and most important, without it, everything else is a wash, is we need to properly learn this deen. At the minimum level, mind, body, and soul. Right? At the minimum level, mind, body, and soul. So there needs to be, and I've been thinking about this, Imam Naim already initiated, I think I'm going to follow him in that we need to provide Islam for beginners. And I would like to add that we are all beginners, even if we think we're advanced. And I think we should have a heavy concentration on us learning the basics of this deen. Many of us want to do details and we don't know the basics. And this is disastrous and has been disastrous for our community in particular. And I've been saying it lately a lot, and some people might not really follow me, and when I mean follow me, they don't follow my point. They may think that I'm kind of critical. I'm not. I'm just tired of losing, right? I'm not critical. I'm just tired of losing. And I know what makes us lose. Even if I can't win, I don't want us all to lose, right? So in my mind, lack of understanding of the deen is going to keep us losing. And I'm a student of history, especially our history. Listen, man, and gal, I don't know, right? We losing. You can be optimistic as you want, and that's nice. But the fact is, we're losing. We have to change course. We can't change course without the proper understanding of the deen. We ain't going nowhere. So that's one point. Excuse me while I play truant officer. Excuse me, Mr. Faheem. Why are you late?
Do you have a note from your parents explaining your tardiness?
My hamster ate my note, man. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum
salam. My opening. I'm just babbling anyway, so don't worry about it. Right. So that's one. After the knowledge, the next thing that I think is a duty for us, we got to learn to make some money collectively. And when I say that, we've done it. I know what we could do collectively because I know what we did on this platform, right? And I know what we've done when we stick together. I know what's possible, right? But if we're educated and broke, that ain't going to go together. Education should lead to some kind of financial success. So we need to get the money thing right. So economics. And the third thing we have to get, and you can put this before the second one, but it may go, we need worldly education To me, those are the three most important things. Right? We have to reverse the belief among Black people, especially Black Muslims, that we don't need education, that we don't need skill sets in worldly endeavors. That's false. I think those three things will put us 50 years ahead, right? And I'm talking about higher education. We need some people to do business, entrepreneurship. We need some people to have skilled trades and crafts, and some people to have expertise in different fields that we need. And I could go in detail on this, and I will, but these are the three things that I think that are our general and specific duties that we have to do for our communities. Imams have to do some, parents have to do some, single people have to do some, children have to do some. Everyone is included in this work. So that's my opening thoughts. Barakallahu bikum.
Okay, did you want to go next, Imam Naeem, or?
Nah, you were supposed to go first anyway.
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. So to the 3453 family, welcome to our broadcast tonight, the Black Imams Roundtable. Yeah, excuse me, I was a little tardy tonight. Inshallah, the brothers will find in their hearts to waive the late fee, you know, because I ain't got it, man. So alhamdulillah, we thank you all for joining us tonight, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it of a benefit for us and to accept it from us and put us on our scale of good deeds. I mean, so I don't know what I missed already. I think Imam Amin was mentioning a few points. Yeah, so the topic tonight, we were talking about the Am and the Khas. These are two terms that we use in usul fiqh, and it was something that crossed my mind as we were discussing, the topic to come up with tonight. How to classify like what we need to do specifically and what we need to do in general for our communities, for our respective communities, not just the online community that we built with the 3453 family, but every part of the community that we're all immediately affiliated with, and how we need to be someone who will help out our community grow and prosper, inshallah ta'ala. So I came up with three things to do generally and three things to do specifically. So I'll discuss them a little bit, inshallah, before the genius comes in and just wipe away everything that I said because it's so profound. MashaAllah. So, so the first thing in general, I came up with three things, and it just happened to be three words that begin with the letter P. All right. So in general, we should have presence, we should have payment, and we should have personality. Present, payment, and personality. And so let me just expound them a little bit. So in our communities, we, and I'm pretty sure my fellow imams can agree, and some of you probably with experiences in your communities, there's a lack of presence for our communities of people, and particularly the brothers, just being absent, there needs to be a strong Islamic presence where we are, where men are around the masjid, around the communities, sisters are around, and where people in our communities, especially where we located, for many of us, we in urban areas, and we just need to be seen, and people need to know who we are. For this community I'm the imam of, I took up the responsibility around the end of 2000. Yeah, it was 2007. And this masjid here, the Quba School and Islamic Center, has been here since 1985. Since 1985, it's the oldest established masjid in the city, and for a long time, you know. And I officially took the job as imam in 2007, but I've been a part of this community since like 1994, when I first, you know, like was making my way home from prison, and I was in the halfway house. I used to come here, and one thing that we really lacked was a consistent presence, a consistent presence. You know, I mean, on Fridays and Eid, and you know, and events that we have, you know, we show up, but like every day, you know, we were just missing, you know. And oftentimes, I mean, I remember early on that the masjid would often be closed, and you know, people would show up for the salat and it's closed and nobody's around. And then I remember one time from the previous administration, you know, they would never really come out, you know, for any of the daily prayers or anything. But when it came time for some kind of matter, I remember one year it was about you know, and I think they call it mischief night, right? You know, where we was coming from, you know, the night before Halloween, where people just really be, you know, really acting out. So I remember the administration, who was in charge at that time, was really making this big fuss. We need brothers to be on security. You know, it's mischief night. It's going to be dangerous. And so, you know, we was like, you know, we were young then, like, man, we here every day for the salat. Like, where you at? You know, where your ass was at. So, but presence is always important, because people, when they see us and they see the brothers together, and even sisters, you know, they start to respect us. And I noticed just us being present now in front of the masjid, you know, we you know, a couple of brothers vending, and we always here for the salat. You know, people become inquisitive. You know, they want to see what these people are doing. It's not the regular, you know, with a bunch of dudes standing around talking about nothing, you know, beer cans and that kind of stuff. You know, they see the Muslims, you know, engaging each other, talking about something that's relatable. You know, we try to keep it, you know, talking about deen, but of course, you know, we venture off into something else sometimes. I mean, not nothing way out of pocket, but you know, we just be kicking it sometimes, and it always sparks interest, you know. So we've had a few people often stop and pass, and you know, then they want to know about Islam, and then you know, then they start telling us about their misconception. You know how it is. Oh, y'all can have up to 7 wives, and you know, or y'all women got to wear stuff inside the house. Like, don't ask us dumb stuff like that. You know, you want to know about Islam? Okay, let's talk about Islam. And so that always, you know, is always potential for da'wah. And then, you know, alhamdulillah, we reached a point where the neighbors feel safe, and you know, we kind of take care of the area. So, but presence is very important. And you know, oftentimes, you know, you could travel around to different masjids, and you have to like really check ahead of time if the masjid is open, if anybody's going to be there. And so that's one thing that I do, you know, applaud my community for, that we always have somebody here, or someone is always in the vicinity, even to the point where if someone wanted to come and make tahajjud prayer, you know, they can come through and pray at the masjid, you know. So we don't really have any kind of security issues, you know, alhamdulillah. So presence is the first thing in general. The second one is payment, you know, and what I mean by payment is by us really supporting our communities, you know, really making sure that we are responding to some of the requests we make in our communities. Many times we have to grind just to get, you know, regular stuff, you know, done, you know, forget all of the extra amenities, you know, and all of the, you know, the perks. You know, we just have to, for most of us, we're struggling just to keep the, you know, the lights on, and, you know, getting basic repairs and the upkeep of the building. You know, we're not even talking about what it takes to run a school or to run a business or all of these things. And all of these, you know, these things are very important. And so, you know, and it takes a lot of energy to really, you know, remind people, you know, what they should be given, what their duty is to support the masjid and what it takes. You know, and then I don't know, for some reason, people think that when it comes to the masjid, it doesn't take the same kind of effort it would take into building their homes, you know, or to have luxuries that they have. You know, why is it that, you know, when we build our homes, we make sure we go all out, we get the best, you know, we get the best contractors, we get the best everything. But when we come to the masjid, you know, we want to ball up $5, $10 bills and throw them in the sadaqah box, you know. And then that's a task in and of itself. Yeah, all crunched up. And then like that's a task in and of itself, all sorting that stuff. It take like a whole 30 minutes, man, to unsort that stuff, man. Like, come on, man. You could have, you know. And so, but then when it comes to, you know, you go to brothers and sisters' house, like, mashallah, man, I didn't know they had a palace around this joint, man. You know what I mean? You living in a palace over here, you know. And so payment is very important. And even at the very least, you know that knowing that it's going on your scale every time you give something, you know. And unfortunately, we still had the stigma that we think that we can't trust people who are leading us, even when we show time and time again that we are taking the money and we do what we're supposed to do with it, you know. And alhamdulillah, we had a recent post on our page where we just showing the people, you know, the projects that we've undertaken and what we've done, you know. And, you know, it's like everybody saying, alhamdulillah, mashallah. But the donations got to match those praises, you know what I mean? And that's what we got to really, you know, it's like in the hopes that people will see it. But okay, they really doing something. So let me take on this project. Yeah, you know, yeah. You know, you see them going past the sadaqah box. You know, they got the money, they got all the big bills. They peel it through them. They pull out the 5, the 1, and ball them up. You know, that's not modesty. You know, that's not modesty. You take a little bill, you ball them up. I don't want nobody to see the left hand or know what the right hand is giving. Nah, man. I see you pull out a wad of cash and you went through all those big bills and gave up $5. You know, that's what we be doing to each other, man. You know, and then want to worry about, you know, the little bit of money that we count up. What are they doing with it? Oh, they ain't doing nothing. I'm not getting my money. I'm going to the other masjid. You know, they got chandeliers and stuff. Oh, man, I don't know. But payment, you know, just to maintain the upkeep, you know, because eventually, you know, and this is something I often think about. And you all know this, but just as a reminder, you know, the kind of imams that we are and other imams as well, as black imams, you're not going to find the kind of people that will take on the task of holding down the community the way we've done it, you know, and not trying to toot our own horn, but you're not going to find the kind of people that's going to come and take the stuff on their back and at least make an attempt to make it better than it was, you know, because, you know, other communities, a person ain't even going to teach or even going to lead the prayer unless that money's there already, you know. And our circumstances are different, that we have to fill in a lot of times and we have to take on a lot of responsibilities because at the end of it, nobody really cares. Nobody really cares. You know, we're just charity cases to some people and we're just, you know, oh, that's a shame how they're living down there, but it's not me, you know. Like there's no connection that, you know, if my brother is suffering, you know, down there, then I'm suffering as well. And sometimes we fail to make that connection on the grand scale because of the resources and the people that we have and the knowledge. You know, there's so much that we can do. And payment is a very important part of it, you know. And so make sure that in our locales that we are supporting our community. Make sure that you put it in your budget, you know, that weekly or monthly, you get the same amount, you know, and then if 100 people do that, you know, and this is something I've been trying to do in my community, like, you know, 100 people, you know, a week and they giving, you know, $10, you know, we won't even have to like ask, you know, if it's automatic, you know, and we do automatic things for everything else. But when it comes to the masjid, we pick and choose what we're going to give, or the masjid is on the back burner when all of our other, you know, stuff is taken care of, you know. Support home base, you know. So payment is very important, you know. And a lot of times, you know, the money that we give, we don't even miss it, you know. And we don't know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to have in store for us, you know, and us giving that money sincerely and, you know, and it's going on our scale. So we paying it forward automatically, you know. So the second one is payment. And the third P in the general in this category is personality. Personality. And what I mean by personality is that, you know, we're living in the times where a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are going through depression. A lot of people are going through some things in their lives. A lot of people are walking around undiagnosed. A lot of people having disorders that they don't even know, and they need the special kind of help. And oftentimes we are not in a position to offer the kind of help that's needed. But what we can do is offer somebody some personality, a warm smile, a kind gesture, a hug, inquiry about their well-being. How are they doing? How's your family? What can I do for you? A kind word, give somebody encouragement. Because, sometimes, and it's almost scary as the imam, and I know my fellow imams can attest to this, sometimes the people will come, coming to you and almost acting like you supposed to perform a miracle. Imam, please make dua for me. Like, I'm a son of Adam too. I'm a sinner. How my dua is gonna be accepted? You got to ask righteous people. You know what I mean? But that kind of thing. And sometimes they make you, you almost feel like you can't let them down. But it's like, man, I'm in the same boat. I mean, who, that saying is like, who asked? Nobody never asked the lion if they're okay. What I mean? And we've had to take the roles of lions and warriors. And, for the most part, nobody be asking us if we okay. We have instances where people call us or, they just go right into it. Salam alaikum, salam. Yeah, brother, because this brother, blah, 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 blah. Like, wait a minute. Did you even ask how I'm doing? Like, what am I doing? Like, you think I'm just sitting around taking phone calls? You know what I'm saying? So, but personality, we have to bring to people and make people feel at ease. This is one complaint I always hear from Muslims, whether they're new or just in general. People feel like that they're not connected to a community. And then, then they feel like if they don't feel a connection or one circumstance happens and it might just be incidental, it might be isolated. And then, they don't want to be bothered no more. I had a brother call me up and he was drilling me about experience that he had at the Masjid. And he was telling me all about it. And it just so happened it was a week I wasn't even there. You know what I mean? And so he almost is like, it was my fault. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, like, if you felt like that, and it was based on something, it was totally off the wall, and, but making sure people, you see people struggling or going through something. And sometimes you can see signs of people, having a bad day or something on their face is an indication they're going through something. Take a moment to ask. Ask how they're doing, how's everything, is there anything that you need? I offer dua for you, you offer dua for me. What does your schedule look like this weekend? Maybe we can sit down, have a bite to eat. After Salat, you got a couple minutes, and try to reach out for people to help them out, because a lot of people are going through some very serious situations, and a lot of times if you don't communicate with them, you have no idea. And it's trying to just put your hand in the mix and just find out what's going on with people. And they really appreciate that, because a lot of times people might not show up. They're not going to be open to talk, but creating a safe space for them so they can come to the masjid, they can feel comfortable, and it's going to take some time and effort and being patient with people. Yeah, inshallah. So those are my three general things. And my three specific things that we need to do as a community. The first one that we always, and I think Imam Amin already mentioned this, is that when we talk about schools, we're talking about education. So schools, I think one of the things that we need to do, if we're able to, and not just schools, Islamic education, Imam Amin was already talking about this, secular education. I think each and every one of us, if we're able to, like this summer, try to take a moment and dedicate, giving some of your time of the skills that you have, and, pick out a youth or pick out someone who may be interested in your profession and try to give them some basic training. You know what I'm saying? Like we having a plan. I mentioned it to my administration about just doing an intensive, like a summer course for the kids, like a summer where they, getting the training. And then, so the first thing was like, okay, how are we going to do it? Who's going to pay for these kids? It's like almost like people saw this babysitting. No, just let them bring the kids to the masjid. We start teaching them, make sure they know they will do their fard ayn, maybe take them on a little trip, do some community service, find out who our elders are, send them over there to like clean their yard and go to the store, stuff like that. And just let it start from there. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, You just can do things that don't have to be planned out all the time. And, you know, once you make the intention and you make the move, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send you what you need. So, and, you know, especially now in these, you know, many of us, we may have children in the public school system, you know, give them alternatives so it can open up the door to we having our own Islamic schools. I know there's a school right here in New Jersey, you know, it's developing to, it's a K through, I think it's K through 6 now. And it's a full-fledged school. And the brother that runs it, man, Allah preserve him, you know, his background is not even education, you know. But he started off with his own children, you know, teaching them at the Masjid, turned into a weekend school. Then the weekend school turned into a full school, and, you know, and that's how we need to do it. At least maybe in the summer, you know, just start concentrating with Islamic studies and the regular school curriculum that you can get online and teach them. Then you could teach them Black studies. Then you can concentrate on math. You can concentrate on language arts. You know, you don't even, you know, the whole other agenda that they're trying to push, that don't even have to be a part of it. So when the kids go back, and, you know, if they go back to school and in the school year, then they're ready. You know what I mean? And all of us can do that. You know, we can read a book. We can show a kid how to write cursive. You know, we can do little things, and we should try to do those kind of things in the summer, inshallah ta'ala. So schools, education, and even for the adults, you know, have something that, you know, if you just take one person and, you know, walk with them, inshallah. There was a sister that reached out to me. And, you know, she basically said she wasn't connected to a community, and what should she do? So I just said, you know, get connected to one, you know, be open, you know, reach out to somebody, look at somebody and know how it feels when you came to the masjid and nobody paid attention to you and nobody really gave you salams, and, you know, they gave you salams, it was in passing. It might not even felt like it was, you know, like, you know, personable. And if you felt that experience, then think about how many people are feeling like you. And just take a look around the masjid next time you're in Jumu'ah. You can kind of get a feel for sisters who are standoffish, those who are outgoing. Or if you can't do it yourself, find out who the sister who has the most, you know, appeal, or, you know what I mean, and go to her and be like, listen, we need to do this for the sisters. And same way for the brothers. And like many of us at this 3453 family, we are able to do things like that. You know, we are already equipped with some basic knowledge. We already equipped with personality. We already equipped with things that we can do. Just go and do it and make an impact on the community, the one that you would like to see for yourself, you know, inshallah. So the first thing and the specific is that we definitely need schools, and we are always pressing this, that we need to produce imams, and we need to produce scholars, and we need to produce people who are going to, you know, hold the community down. We need to produce, you know, people who have skills, all types of life skills, you know, professional on a professional level. You know, some of us, we can take about some of our children as apprentices, you know, teach them some of the basics of whatever profession that we involved in, and, you know, maybe start, you know, steering them in that direction, because they might not know about what potential that they have. You know, you sit down with these children, then you can find out that they're gifted in math, they're gifted in language, they're gifted in their hands, they're gifted in reading, or all of that kind of stuff. And always, you know what I'm saying, you know, focusing on that. And I think Imam Amin or Imam Naim mentioned it before, like some of the other, you know, communities, you know, that is you know, it's non-negotiable about what their kids going to do. You know, you're going to school, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be an engineer. And that's the same thing we have to do. No, you don't. It's not, you know, this ain't, I used to always tell my kids, like, this ain't Drake and Josh. This ain't no kids sitting around and no adults around and you unsupervised and you running the house. No, you got to do this. You got to be something. You got to do something. You got to produce. You got to give something back, you know. And so schools, education, all of that is connected, you know. The second specific is Imam Amin beat me to it already, but economics. You know, we got to really put together an economic plan that we can build money, you know, and that we can take care of each other. So we are an independent force, and we're taking care of ourselves, and we are investing in ourselves, you know, and make sure that we are putting something to the side as a collective that we can take care of each other. You know, it's very important. It's very important for us to do that and try to put away some of the things, you know, that deter us from really being committed. You know, just do it. Either way, whatever happens, you are still getting the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are still getting something stored up in the akhirah for you. So you don't lose. You don't lose, Like on this platform, we ask people to give $10. It's just to see how committed that we're going to be, And by right, we should be demanding much more, because it takes much more just for us to do some of the things that we're doing, and we're doing on a small scale, but we have some things coming down the pike that this thing is going to blow up big, inshallah ta'ala. And it's going to need some kind of support, from the people, And so we need to be independent. We need to, not be on anybody's clock or anybody else's time except ours. And then, we support our own selves, and we really can do it. We have so much capability and so much potential that we can do. So economics. And then the last one, this whole concept of community, really being connected to a community. Many of us, we're dispersed. We don't live around each other. We live far away from the masjid. And, we really need to try to fix this. And this is going to take some time, because it's either going to involve us really, strengthening our communities by really being a regular part of it, or being somewhere where we have our own place, But this should be part of the goal down the line, just fortifying our situations and making them strong. Because, we mention this all the time, that the Black Muslim communities are becoming extinct. The Black Muslim communities are, on a decline, And because we miss the support, we miss a community, we're not married into each other's families. We're not doing business with each other. We don't live around each other. And, and it all starts with us really trusting each other for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and being ready to make a tremendous sacrifice so that 20 years down the line, we can see some progress. So those are my 3 things, inshallah, that I had to discuss. And we'll touch on it some more after the genius cleans up my batting average. How they say in baseball, I struck out, so he's gonna come up and hit the home run so we can win, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa afdalu salatu wa atamu taslim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, wa radiyallahu ta'ala an sayyidati tabi'in wa ulama al-amalin wa a'immatul arabatul mujtahidin wa muqallidihim ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. I've written down 3 things, keeping with the sunnah of my comrades, trying to fall in line. I've organized my thoughts into 3 general areas that we need to focus on and adhere to. And alhamdulillah, a lot of what I intended to say, I don't have to say because it was already said, alhamdulillah. But if you are taking notes, you can call them the 3 go backs. The 3 go backs. In other words, we have to go back to 3 things in 3 different areas. And the first thing that we have to go back to is the basics. I mean, everything we think or thought we knew or know about Islam, we should reevaluate it. And when Imam Amin was talking, I remembered back when I became Muslim, I was Muslim for maybe, at this time, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, something like that. And I came into the deen thinking I knew a few things. And I remember one conversation where I thought it was okay for Muslims to drink khamr, alcohol, right? I think I told this story before. I ain't going to tell it again. But people looked at me like I was crazy. And I had all of these, see, even Imam Amin was influencing me back then. I didn't even know him. I had all these Ansar books with me. This is in jail, right? Had these Ansar books. You probably helped print them things too, man. Had these books with me. And the brother who was like my teacher, He took the books for me and he said, listen, I need you to do me a favor. Anything you think you know about Islam, forget it. You're starting from scratch. Start over. I know you think you know things and your friends that you were with in the street told you some things. Forget all that. We started from zero here. And I think that's what he told me. I did it, alhamdulillah. And years later, I had to do it again because because I didn't know it at the time. But I was basically like most of us, probably like 95% of us, was taught Islam from a Wahhabi perspective. We were what we call default Wahhabis. So years later, I had to end up doing that again. And I think a lot of us don't do that. A lot of us don't do that. So we have to go back to the basics and even our basic understandings about Islam, meaning the belief, the outward practice, not only the work, the ibadah, but also the other areas, our social interactions with each other, our spirituality. We really have to go back. And as they say in Islam, we have to have our cup empty. Come with an empty cup. And like using spiritual terminology, we have to do tahliyah. We have to empty out, clean out, divest ourselves of all of those things that are impure that we shouldn't have in our Islam, right? And the only way to know that there's something that we need to get rid of, something that's impure in our understanding or practice of Islam, we have to go back and reevaluate it. So we have to go back, right? And I also jotted down in connection with that, we have to disconnect or disassociate. I don't like the word disconnect, but you all will get the point. Poverty, laziness, and unskilled labor from our collective resume. I'm saying this, I don't know where it came from or where the idea, where the idea came from with a lot of us. But a lot of us, even though we don't say it, a lot of us, our actions show that we think there is piety in poverty. We think like it's like sinful to have money. Many of us think it's sinful for a Muslim to have bread or do what's necessary to get bread. Like even myself, right? Like my father, he's an electrician. He knows that. I grew up in it. That's easy for me, electrical work. And when I was in prison as a Muslim, check this out. I joined the electrical class late. They had trades in the prison. I joined the class late. Then I passed everybody in the class. And then I dropped out because I felt like it was getting between me and my dean. And then years later, well over a decade later, I'm paying a trade school for a certificate that I could have got in prison for free. The same exact certificate recognized on the street, I could have got in prison, but I went to trade, for some, nobody told me this, but somewhere the Muslims around me, the environment, like, you study the deen or the street, right? I don't know where it came from, but that idea is very prevalent amongst Muslims. Also, one of you just mentioned it. When a lot of us become Muslim and we have this energy and, like a lot of us, I don't know about so much now, but back in the day when a lot of us took Shahada, we like jump into Islam with both feet, no reservation. Whatever Islam is, that's what we're going to be. And we're not holding anything back, right? A lot of us have that in mind. And then when we see other Muslims who have been Muslim for a while, and they're economically stable. They seem to have, stable, cohesive families. At the same time, the Islamic practice seems weak. Even if it may not be, it's perceived by a lot of people who thought like we thought, and I'm saying I'm include myself in that. Our perception of them is that these guys ain't really on deen, right? And so I think that we have to, because and I'm saying this because I know a lot of people who, and I'm not knocking brothers because people always think when you mention them, that you knocking them. I know brothers who supported multiple wives selling incense and oils, especially in New York. You got that high concentration of people, right? But everybody can't do that. And everybody's not organized enough to do that. Just like everybody can't be a drug kingpin, right? Some people going to sell drugs and spend all their money on sneakers, right? They ain't going to save no money for the re-up. You got some people that sell incense like that, right? But somewhere in the psyche, it's floating in the air. It's in the water we drink. I don't know what it is, right? But somewhere in our mindset, we think it's like, we don't say it, but it's like almost haram to get an education, to get some skill, to be able to provide for our families. And then when we get older and when the light finally turns on, right, then, we work in menial jobs, supporting children and grandchildren. And so we have to go to basics, go to our basics. Somebody type zuhud in there earlier, right? Which means like austerity or doing without. But really, people don't understand that concept. Doing without meaning your heart doesn't fall in love with the dunya. It has nothing to do with how much dunya is in your hand, how much dunya you have. And it's weird about the type of concepts that we take on to, because we know basic Islam. We know Uthman ibn Affan had money. We know Abdurrahman ibn Auf had money. These companions were famously rich, but the connection is not there for us. Somewhere intellectually, it doesn't connect for us that, hey, these Sahaba had money and they weren't seen as sinful. In fact, they were 2 of the 10 that's promised paradise. But somewhere that connection isn't made for a lot of us. And I think it has a lot to do with our situation here in America. So that's one go back. Go back to the basics and reevaluate all of our things that we think we know about Islam. Number 2, the second go back. We need to go back to our people. Too many of us use Islam as an escape hatch to separate and disconnect ourselves from our people. And part of that, a lot of us think we're not black. Then if we think we are black, the other half of us think it's haram to call yourself black. And all of that is the psychological reaction to trying to disconnect from who you are. Okay, I'm black, but I got a problem with being black. I'm something else. I ain't no crayon. How you say the word crayon? I can have a problem saying that word. Crayola crown, right? I ain't no box of crowns. I ain't black. I'm brown, right? He light brown. Imam Faheem is mocha, extra cream.
Don't I wish?
Right? We everything. We don't call me black. Show me that in the sunnah. Then you show them in the sunnah, then they get quiet. But still, nah. Right? So, but the bottom line is, we have to go back to our people. We're not different than our people who are not Muslim. We are not different from our people that are not Muslim. And I want to give you an example of how, with that thinking that, we disconnect from them kufa over there and we Muslims and we don't have nothing to do with each other. In the New York jail and prison system, at one time, the Muslims who were primarily black, were seen like almost like the leaders of black folks in prison. Because, you know, in prison, you have gangs, for lack of better words, or organizations. And this is before they had Crips and Bloods on the East Coast. And so in prison politics, you have gangs. And for the most part, the Muslims represented black folks for a long time. At some point, and it's not like it just happened like a light switch, it was gradual. At some point, the Muslims in jail and in prison disconnected themselves from other black folks. So when black people was getting into beef in prison, the Muslims said, we Muslim, we ain't got nothing to do with that. Muslims never traditionally thought like that. So at the time in New York City and New York State, you have the Spanish-based gangs, like the Latin Kings, La Familia, Nieta. That's the ones I know about at the time. And they had other ones, but those at that time, those were like the most biggest. And when Nietas came, the Latin King, the La Familia, it seemed like they almost, at least from my memory, almost disappeared. And then, that's right, jail stories, man. And then, well, watch how this jail story spills out into the streets. And so when the Latin Kings and La Familia got their numbers up, you know, they started beefing with black folks. And according to the black folks that was there, by the time I'm home now, right, they was terrorizing them. All the black gangs and organizations was too weak. The 5%ers was weak. Jamaicans was weak. And the Muslims said, we ain't black, we Muslim. We ain't got nothing to do with it. So they looked for a way to organize themselves, according to them, to stop the oppression of the Spanish people. And they had animosity against the Muslims for not stepping up, because they're looking at the Muslims like, man, oh, y'all black. What do you mean y'all ain't got nothing to do with this? So then they, without Isnad or Ithan, created the Bloods. You know what I'm saying? Isnad or Ithan. Usually the way these gangs set up, you just can't do what a lot of us do in Islam. Just start quoting stuff and claiming something, and you don't have no connection to that thing. The gangs is the same way. Like, you know, you just can't just set up shop over there and just do what you want to do, right? You have to have some connection. But they said, man, listen, we don't care about all that. We Bloods, right? And we organizing under that. And so now they organized under that, and became a semi-cohesive unit. A lot of them used to be 5%ers or still remain 5%ers, but they moving like a gang now, Bloods. And they fought back against a lot of the Spanish gangs. They got so strong where in one prison, they fought against the Muslims and won. Yeah. I saw a podcast, they was bragging about it. Yeah, they ain't want to help us, and then we got our weight up and we rode on them, right? And I'm like, oh my God, subhanAllah, ya Allah, right? And now if you look at New York now, the black gangs, the Crips and Bloods, that's an outgrowth of the prison. It came from prison. It didn't come from the streets. It came from prison. So now you got neighborhoods run by gangs, Crips and Bloods, and that was a spillage from the prison. Why did I mention that whole story? Because what helped contribute to that is black Muslims said, we ain't black no more. That's your business. When we was in prison, we looked at ourselves as peacemakers. So if anybody had a problem, we would try to intervene and make peace, especially between black folks. And so we have to go back to our people. And we have to even when I talked about the first going back to the basics of Islam, there's kind of like overlap there, because a lot of us, we have these un-Islamic ideas in the dress of Islam that make us think we're sinful for even acknowledging who we are and our lineage and all that kind of stuff. So when we go back to the basics of our Islam, it's going to give us the intellectual energy, the himma, and the fortitude to recognize that what we thought about Islam and all that kind of stuff as far as our people was a bad idea that was given to us by someone else, but not practiced by them. Every other ethnic group in Islam don't do that, but they expect us to do that, right? So we have to go back to our people, and the imams from the generation older than us and before them, they understood that for the most part. They understood that because almost all of our masajid in America, in the Black community, they were known for cleaning up their neighborhoods. They were known for protecting the weak people in their neighborhoods. They didn't say, hey, as long as you keep it outside the masjid, ain't got nothing to do with us. No, they tried to clean up their neighborhoods as best as possible and keep the neighborhood safe. So that's the second go back. The third go back is we have to go back to our families and communities. We have to go back to our families and communities. Too many of us, we think like individuals. And even when we talk about getting married, we're not even thinking as if we're going to be part of a family or uniting families. We're thinking like individuals, and many times, when we get married, that marriage is leveraged to break up families. That marriage is used as an excuse to break up a person from their family, or to cut themselves off from both of their families and and go on like that. And this is not even, you can't even practice the Quran doing that. When there's for example, if there's a problem in the marriage, we know the verse from Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 34. When there's discord, nushuz, that there's an admonishment, and then there's a separation in the bed, and then there's a physical admonishment. But in the next ayah, it talks about another level of trying to reconcile a situation, having arbitrators come from each of the families. But this is almost like it become like a hallmark in Islam, the way it's practiced amongst us, is that we just destroying families. And I think we carry this from the Jahiliyyah. I think in going back to our families, we have to identify on a conscious level. Conversations need to be had. And we need to identify all of those generational curses that are afflicting our families that we've brought into Islam with us, and deal with them. All of those generational curses, we have to deal with them. And we have to educate ourselves with regards to family. Most of us don't even know how to live as a Muslim family. We don't know how to marry properly. We don't know how to divorce properly. We don't know how to raise children properly. We don't even know how to name our children properly. We don't even know Islam's child custody laws should the marriage end. We don't know anything. We don't know about any of these things, but yet and still we're still practicing these things. So we're sinful because knowledge comes before action. So before we involve ourselves in marriage, all of us should be experts in these things, at least with regards to the basics. So we have to go back to family, not just doing family, just heedless and no. And so I don't know how long I've been talking, but I'll stop there. So we have to do the three go backs. We have to go back to the basics. We have to go back to our people, and we have to go back to family and community. Alhamdulillah.
Barakallahu bikum. It's always a beauty to go behind the genius, because when he talks, he just leaves so much stuff for you to tap into and bounce on. So I'm way past 3, 4, 5 points. Like, y'all left an ocean of things to
The
talk
ingenuity.
about. Yeah, that guy is, man,
The propensity.
super smart. and so I want to take on a few things, because these are actually solutions, right? To all the things we discussed. Now I want to come around to like what we need to do, like practical things. But I want to tell a few stories. So I'm going to take a little time if I can, because you said so many things that just was like, stuff was going off in my mind as you were talking. In terms of the first thing I mentioned was Islamic knowledge, right? Listen, there is a such thing as truth and falsehood. We have to distinguish that. We cannot continue. We must. That's a practical thing we must do. We must distinguish with all of the capacity and all the resources we have between truth and falsehood in Islam, right? Too many of us, far too many of us, think it's okay to not understand Islam. And we pass that off by saying, it's just difference of opinions. No, that means you didn't learn, right? It's not just a difference of opinion. There is a difference of opinion, but sometimes those differences are truth and falsehood. Some things are true and some things are false. And I'm going to say this with a definitive, non-negotiable statement. Wahhabism is false. And whoever doesn't distinguish that is sadly mistaken about Islam. Can we all put that up? That's definitive. Wahhabism is false. Seriously, that's a major problem for us in our work. It's a major problem in our community's destruction. Serious. And for me, no matter how much we try to get around this issue, we sadly mistaken. It's killing us. It's not the proper understanding of this deen. And that's a major mistake. Whether we can consider it true because of our ignorance, or whether we consider it true because we're just obstinate in falsehood. It has killed us. Seriously. Everything we're talking about, if we follow Wahhabism to the letter, it's going to destroy the Black family, the Black community, the Black everything. We're done. We're finished. And when you see it looking like it is working, it's not being given to you for real. When it's given to you for real, it's a problem. And that, because let me tell you why. And somebody might like he's going there. Yeah, I'm going there. Just for understanding. We can talk about it, but it's important. Because if that's our understanding of the deen, we have misunderstood Islam altogether. And guess what? Our enemy, who didn't change to be our enemy, used that to help further subjugate us. When we were going into Islam, they brought in Wahhabism and wiped that whole stuff out. Translation, you Negroes ain't going nowhere with this. You forget about it. And to this day, it is still plaguing us. And they did that move 70 years ago. They was making those moves. When they saw us moving, they started it. And if you don't understand the world that you live in, you don't understand global politics, global imperialism, you don't understand all this stuff, you will never see what's happening to us, which is a problem. Now, it's become so popular that it is the Islam that we know, which is not the Islam that the Prophet ﷺ conveyed. I'm not saying it doesn't have portions of it. I didn't want to spend a long time, but this needs to be said. Because as long as we stay there, I'm telling you, we might as well stay in the nation. It's not much different. And some of us, because we still sentimentally attached to these ideas, we don't realize it. We would have been better off in the nation and trying to figure our way out of that than this Wahhabi stuff. We would have been better off trying to figure our way out of that stuff. I'm going real straight up. All right? Okay. Because, all right, I'll stop there. I think that's one point. That's a practice. So if we don't distinguish truth and falsehood, we ain't going nowhere. So if we're still talking about, I'm Ahl Sunnah, but in reality, I have a corrupt creed, a corrupt practice, a corrupt understanding of the deen, I'm disconnected from the Islamic chains of narration, I consider all Muslims as kuffar and mushrikun and grave worshippers and everything else, I'm never going to connect to the deen because I think it's all kufr and shirk. Do you realize that? That's what's being said. So I'm never going to connect to the deen. I'm never going to connect to the spirituality. All that's out of the window. And then what's going to happen? You're going to have a bunch of people making up their own religion, and it's going to be Protestant Islam. You know the Protestant movement in Christianity? That's the equivalent of it in Islam. And next thing you know, you're going to have a straight butchering of the sacred law. Mark my words, you see it. It's just that they've done such a good job that you don't even know the sacred law no more. Right? You don't even know it. And now it's a protected species like the Rainbow Coalition. And I don't mean the one with Jesse Jackson, right? Is that bars, Imam Faheem? I tried that. Okay, that's one point. Distinguishing truth from falsehood. Distinguishing truth from falsehood. Very important. So since most of us, as Imam Naeem said, what you said, 90%, something like that?
Like, I think it's higher than that. I said like 95.
Most of us have already been programmed by Wahhabi thought. That's how we think. Right? So that means we're going to have to forget what we thought we know, and we're going to have to learn the deen over again. It's going to hurt, but it's necessary. And we have to learn it properly, and we have to learn it and get rid of all these Wahhabi ideas that we have. That's going to hinder our growth. That's one. So that important point. I'll tell you the story that one of my teachers told me, and I never forget it about this. And Abdullah indicated it when I was teaching in New York. I told them this story. There were two young men that came to a teacher. They wanted to learn like Quran or different Islamic stuff. So he said to one, he said, how much do you know? He said, nothing. He said, $1. He said to the other, how much do you know? He said, I know a little something. He said, $2. So the second kid, he said, $2. But you gave him what? You charged him $1. He don't know nothing. You charge me $2, and I know something. He said, yeah, $1 to help you forget what you think you know, and the other $1 to teach you. Right? That's us. $1 to help you forget what you think you know, and the other $1 to teach you. So that's a practical step. That's number one. Distinguish between truth and falsehood within what we call Islam. Within what we call Islam. And many of us who are recovering Wahhabis, moving to Ahl Sunnah, know exactly what I'm talking about. When you learn, you'll be like, man, this stuff didn't make no sense. When you open yourself up, you'll be like, this stuff was totally wrong. When you learn our tradition, historically and globally, you'll be like, man, this is one of the biggest lies ever told. You done wiped out the Jesus story from Christianity. You like, man, this one got that beat. They done did a whole move. But you won't see it globally. If you see it globally, they put this move all over, even in Africa. So we never recover. We go back home and we're going to be Wahhabi, right? It's a mess. We have a lot of work to do. So we got to go back to Africa and teach them. They in Africa, because of money, being sold Wahhabi stuff. As my teacher said, feed the stomach, the eyes will remain silent. Feed the stomach, the eyes will remain silent. They feed in the stomachs in Africa, and they see all those Wahhabi books that contradicted what their chains of narration said. They are silent. Bring, just bring the money. Bring the money. It's the real stuff. So where we think I'm going back to Africa and I'm going to learn the deen, no, you're not. You're going back to Africa, you're going to get more stuff. So we have to learn.
Unless you way in a bush in a village somewhere.
No, it's serious stuff. That's one. So that's a practical. We have to learn traditional, true Sunni Islam with an unbroken chain of narration and all of its sciences. We have to learn the books. We have to do what we have to do. And we have to teach, starting from beginning and all the way through. That's our job. And we must do it. We can't rely on someone else to do it for us. We have to be our own teachers. So we have to build our own students. We have to send them to the teachers. We got to do the work. We can't rely on no one else because there's other stuff related to that, right? People want black slaves, and we got to stop being black slaves. People love to have servants, and most of the time they black. We can't be servants for nobody in the world. We have to be our own independent nation. All right, I'm sorry. This is a lot for me. The second point, it related to what Imam Naim said about electrician and missed opportunity. Because someone told us to be on the sunnah, we got to neglect everything in the world, which is false. And that happens to us a lot. We have the opportunity to learn skill sets, and because we're so on the sunnah, on the deen, we don't learn. I remember this in school when I was radically answered, right? I had French class, right, in high school. And I was like, man, I don't want to learn no French. White slave dwellers, blah, 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 not going off, not going to class. And then dropped out. I don't want to hear that nonsense. Black man. And then when I got older and I found myself in Paris having to make business deals with French people, I was like, came back to bite me out. I'm sitting at the table with big deals, but I don't speak French. And I got to wait for translators and and the opportunity was right there. I had it as a kid, right in school, right? And I remember those same things when behind the wall, time to go to college. They was paying for it, free. Man, I got to go to class, man. I'm going to teach the knowledge. I ain't doing all that. Free opportunities. We can't pass them by, right? We cannot pass them by. When those opportunities present ourselves, we must take advantage of them. And we need to instill in ourselves as adults and our children, hey, when there is opportunity for you to learn any knowledge that's going to build our communities, that's going to build our people, whether it's religious, whether it's secular, any type of knowledge, you must grab it and bring it back to the collective. That has to be a spirit. Any type of beneficial knowledge, whether religious or worldly, and you have the ability to acquire it, you must grab it and bring it back to the village. That's got to be our spirit. If you have you must bring it back to the village. Don't pass opportunities for our collective development. And it may be only you that have that opportunity. Bring it back to the village. Right? That's number 2. I'm going to speed through them so I don't take too long. In terms of Islamic education, secular education, financial education, economics, business, all of those things, we need to find talented people among us who have different skill sets, and we must empower them. Everybody has something to offer. I heard a sister say earlier, I have a bunch of business ideas, but no money. We need to take those business ideas, put them with people with money, put them together, bring it back to the village, right? I hear a lot of times in the Masjid, it makes me angry, right? And I'm saying, we got to do this, we got to do this. And they'll say, we're not you. We ain't business people. I'm like, not all of us are, but some of us are. Some of us are not business people, but we have ideas that can make money that if we share them with business people, they could convert into prosperity for our community. Everybody got different talents. Some people got money, but no ideas. Some people got ideas and no money. Marry them, bring them together. Bring your ideas and bring your money. Let's make this work, right? This is very important. Sometimes you don't have no money, you don't have no idea, but you have connections. Sometimes you don't have money or ideas. You just know people. Bring that resource to the collective. I don't have no money. I don't even have a business idea. But I know somebody who make a lot of money and do a lot of business. And I know them. I'm not in that field, but I can introduce you to them. Bring that stuff collectively back together, right? But we got to think as a collective to do that, as a people, right? When the Chinese, and mostly Africans, when they come to America, they're coming to America to grab the best and take it back to their land. And people come for different stuff. Even in Saudi Arabia, that's what they do. They send their kids over here and they go back to Saudi Arabia with all this information and try to build their own infrastructure. That's what they do. we have to do the same thing. Sometimes, like for instance, you have Imam Naim, for instance, right? That goes overseas all the time. Sister Anissa went to Egypt. She was going to Egypt. She didn't know what she was doing, all the things. I had students that's in there studying. Yo, go help her do this, you do this, you do this, you put together this, boom, business. That's her thing. She's not a student of knowledge, but he's a student of knowledge. He's not a businessman. Put all that stuff together. I ain't one of them there. I know the connections. Bring it all together. Let's make it happen. That's what we have to do, right? Individually, we can't do much, right? You may be a bad dude, no, but you can't do it all by yourself. You may be a bad woman, but you can't do it all by yourself. You may do a whole lot, but you can't do it all. You need help. You need a collective effort, right? So that's that. Find the talent, put it to work for our collective benefit. The last one, and this is the most difficult of them all, and I'll stop. We must learn and struggle to love each other. Can we put that up? We must put capital. We must learn and struggle to love each other. That's why I always say 3, 4, 5, 3 family. It's important. Listen, and it got to mean something to you. It can't be just words. Is a must. It's not a negotiable item. We must learn and struggle because sometimes it's hard. You got to put up with somebody's crap. Sometimes that's rough, but we got to do it. We have to. If we're to survive, we must do it. Right? We got to love each other. And that means we got to tolerate each other. Just like you tolerate us every week and every day, you got to tolerate others too, not just us because we're imams. Nah, you got to tolerate, or we got something you want. Even the one who you might not see directly what you want, that person may have something for the collective, and you got to be patient with that person for the collective, right? That's what you learn as an imam. It's people in the community I particularly don't, they ain't my cup of coffee, right? At all. But I got to put up with it for the collective. And I'm quite sure I'm not some people's cup of coffee, but they got to put up with me for the collective. And then when we learn as a skill how to love each other, we'll see progress. So these are my things that are action items, stuff we must do, right? And lastly, the big one, we must be honest with each other, even if it's bitter. We must be honest with each other, even though it's bitter. The Prophet ﷺ is related about him. He said, "Qul al-haq walau kana murra." Speak the truth, even if it's bitter. I'm not saying you gotta speak bitter, but even if it's bitter, we have to become tough-skinned. Listen, man. That's why I don't hesitate to say Wahhabi, because it's true. I know you might not like the term. I know you might not, but it's true. It's killing us, and it's going to continue to kill us. So I say it. That doesn't mean I hate you. I do love you. That's why I'm telling you. And I can talk about it, and we can negotiate it. But, right, I'll give you an example. Quickly, I'm going to stop. I promise. I'm on my thing. I have a friend. I got a guy who called me. I got a couple people. Send me a message about this Wahhabi. Why you say Wahhabi? I'm not no Wahhabi. I said, why not? I said, I'm not a Wahhabi. Why not? I don't agree with that. Well, then why are you asking me why I'm saying it and you don't agree with it? Why don't you say it? Think about that. This person studied in the Wahhabi universities with the Wahhabiyya, and that person told me I'm not a Wahhabi. Okay, And he knows what a Wahhabi is. I ain't never been with that stuff. Okay, so why don't you say it? No, you told me. And you lived it. You were in it. You know it better than me, quote unquote. Say it. Stop hiding. And you know this ain't good for us. And actually told me, Wahhabism, that ain't for black people. That's what you want from me. Right? And you know why? Say it. I know it may be a little bitter, but say it. Because we're trying to collectively win. We ain't going to win if we keep not telling each other the truth. How are we going to win? When you know it's wrong and you won't say nothing. It doesn't make sense. You don't got to hate nobody, but at least tell me the truth. Don't let me just blindly wander off into space someplace. Tell me. And I'll stop there. Be honest, even if it is bitter. Be honest with each other. But do it with love so we don't hate each other. Listen, I'm telling you because I love you. And guess what? I'll go through it over and over and over till you get it. Because I love you. Right? Because I love you, I'll go over and over and over and over and over with you till you get it. And Allah knows best.
Okay, so how are we looking on our goal, inshallah? Yeah, that's something we need to go over.
Last report is 325.
Okay, inshallah, we're a little over 60% of the goal. So if you haven't had a chance to make a donation, please try to take a moment to do so, inshallah, and help us to reach our goal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala double and multiply your reward. Amin. Another thing that I would just like to add, so many jewels been dropped, alhamdulillah, tonight, is that, you know, as us as imams and us as leaders, you know, we're only going to be good as the development of the people who are under us, you know, or the people who take us as leaders, you know. And so this is why we stress the importance of not just kind of, putting it on us, you know, what a lot of people tend to do, like, okay, the imams will take care of it, you know, they got it, you know, and then we just kind of pass the buck sometimes, either directly or indirectly. But the more that each of us develop as an individual, you know, as we work collectively, we're able to go on our own and to make these adjustments and, you know, make these enhancements to our communities, which is very important, because not only do we, you know, teach people and instruct, but we also trying to, you know, we help to build people and, you know, raise their awareness, you know, so they can feel like they have the courage, they have the ability, they have the wherewithal to do the things that they need to do, inshallah ta'ala. And so you all represent us and we all represent you. So it's going to, you know, be a concentrated effort of us taking care of things in our community and, you know, stepping up, you know, putting your neck on the line, making the sacrifices, giving all your time, becoming exhausted, you know, giving your energy, you know, taking a loss with your wealth and, you know, sleepless nights and all of that kind of stuff that, you know, for this kind of work that needs to be done, because more of us really need to be doing it. You know what I mean? Because I heard a discussion on on the rebuilding marriages. What's the name of that program on Sunday? The series?
Rebuilding the Black Family.
Rebuilding the Black Family. So I tuned in for a bit, and you know, it was special. It's special because who's hosting it, but on this particular program, yeah, we had my treasurer, Sister Habiba Salam, who's very dear to me, not only because she's my treasurer, but she's the daughter of my sheikh and teacher, you know, and so she's doing the work for her. May Allah preserve her. But she mentioned something very important, like, you know, many of our imams, meaning us, you know, we're getting older, and, you know, we got to start thinking about the future, you know, who's going to come behind us, how are we working to develop people to come behind us, how are we put in, you know, future imams and future students and future leaders in position so they don't have to inherit a mess. You know, like many of us, we've had to inherit a mess and still working to straighten it out, you know, and just trying to stay the course and at least leave it as better than when we had, than when we received it, So a lot of this stuff is going to take a tumultuous effort, And so if we have this platform here that we building, we're looking to expand it for more people who think like us and are ready to work like us, inshallah ta'ala. But it's very, very important, and so yeah, we into building the hearts and the minds of the people, and as well as making sure they know the correct knowledge and the correct application, So we spark people. So we give you a spark, then you in turn have to give someone a spark, So that's what I was alluding to, and when I first started out talking, be that kind of spark in the communities that you're a part of, and to light somebody else's candle. As the saying goes, that you can always light somebody else's candle without your light being dimmed out. You can light 1,000 candles. You can spark 1,000 people. You can spark dozens of children. You can make a whole difference with just a smile and greeting people and being outgoing and being energetic and at least offering your time and your ideas and your ear and all of those kind of things, because that's what's going to make us grow, inshallah ta'ala. So as you are dependent on us, we're dependent on you as well. So we had to get these, Imam Amin mentioned some some action plans or some things that are doable. And we also covered a few things. So let's just get to it. We got a lot of work to do, and each and every one of us has to be like a beacon of light where we are. We have to be some type of guidance, someone's, that they can have some hope and they feel secure and they feel at ease when they come across us. And we, at least for the moment, that we make their situation a little better, inshallah. So that goes beyond just, reading books and, understanding knowledge, how we applying it to people and how we engage in people is very, very important. That's a part of it, inshallah. Yeah, so. Oh, yeah. Don't talk to me about no chicken. I want my money. That's an insider. I don't want to hear about no chicken. I want my money. So I'm saying that as an insider, but I'm saying to you all now, I don't want no excuses. Where the money at? Mashallah. All right, somebody has a question. This question to all imams: have your local communities increased their support now that y'all have an increased online support? I don't know, and maybe this is a fault of mine. I don't know if it's increased support, but I think it's increased awareness, and I think people start to see, they see a little bit more that who they have in their midst. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, not having a platform like this, a lot of stuff it goes unrecognized. The day-to-day work of dealing with people and issues, and trying to raise the level of the consciousness for people. It's a lot. So I think, and for me in my community, I think sometimes people seeing me, on here, it's like, okay, man, that's our imam doing that. That's our community. And so then they may think about all the times where we would just have these kind of discussions where there's no platform. We just talking like this regular, or the way I'm talking to people here is the same thing I'm doing in Friday Jummah. If I'm over here, asking people to give money, then I do the same thing in the Friday football, or I catch the one on the side, bro, what's up, man? And just, heart to heart, mind to mind. And so I think for some, it gives them an appreciation that, that people around the world, or, they go somewhere and then they say, okay, yeah, I know, I'm at Quba school with Imam Faheem. And, somebody, oh, the Imam with the boom bip. And so, no, then they know the corrective no is boom bap. All right. So, yeah, so I think that is more awareness. But the community that I'm in is just, we're a fledgling community financially. So, but I think outside of the community, more people are, exposed to us And so I think that opens up the avenues of sharing, because we've, we received a lot of assistance from people that we've just met through this platform, and we really appreciate it. So it opens up the door to show what kind of connection, what kind of range that we can have, that we do have, and we can potentially have when we work together and we open up all of these avenues and make these connections, and like-mindeds are together. Then, of course, on this platform, we've had some people in here. We've lost some people. We've had people who've been committed members from day one. We have some that roll with us. We've had some that try to infiltrate us. We've lost some. We gained some. It's up and down. But in the local community, I think people are more appreciative now. What I mean? Because this is not something that I do locally. Like a week, we have a discussion. And or we try to arrange it before. Like I try to have a few events in my community where, outside of a classroom structure or a teaching environment, just to have talks like, brothers, we get together and we sit down and we have coffee and we have just discussions about man issues, or we have a family night or something like that, a couples night. And a lot of times people don't show up, and so now they see me on the platform and then they talking about it. Oh, wow, that's my Imam, and hopefully it will spark them like to give more support, because I'm right here. My community has to come first, but this is part of the hard work, my community, and then at the same time, an online community. So I have a double obligation to try to give my all, and then also to give, my full support to my fellow Imams and other ones who are, doing the same kind of work. So, yeah, mashallah.
Imam Amin look like you're having a good time over there typing. I was waiting to see if he was going to answer the question.
Yeah, what are you doing, man? Man, we got a show to do, right? What are you? Come on, man. Yeah, we ain't playing around, man. Can't even type. Yeah.
You muted.
I can't help it. I love black people. Can we switch questions and come back?
Yeah.
I can't help myself. This is more important.
Okay.
Imam Naeem, can I get a pass or no?
Yeah, you got to pass. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I got a more important question. This is really of none significance.
Are you still
Abdullah, the answer to your question is yes.
Oh my goodness. Where do we sign up? Sorry, don't pay me no attention. This was inside for us. I'm sorry. MashaAllah. Great, Imam Naeem. So the platform, you have been recognized. Though you hide yourself. All right, mashallah. All right, where was that question for Farouk? I'm sorry. Did you check the private chat, Imam Naeem? I'm sorry. Hey, Imam's got to have some fun too. Don't blame us. Oh my goodness. Oh, all right, go ahead. Hey, Imam Naeem. I got tears in my eyes. Oh my goodness.
Nah, Abdullah, we're not laughing at you. It's insider.
No, this is. Oh no, it has nothing. This is something me and Imam Naeem always talk about. Don't.
I don't even know what they talk about, but it's still funny.
We'll explain it to you later. In after party.
Oh my God. That was a good one. Good.
But to Farouk's question, Farouk Al-Ansari, I pretty much more or less agree with Imam Faheem. What I've noticed here in Pittsburgh, that many of the people, they are aware of the platform and what we do, and they like it. It's almost like, yeah, that a boy, that's right, right? But, translated into increased support, I don't know about it. I don't know. Acknowledgement, yeah, alhamdulillah, y'all doing a good thing, alhamdulillah, right? But increased support, I don't know. That's my experience. I don't know about Imam Amin.
So let me before I go on, brother Abdullah, this is inside jokes. You will never catch it. So with us, it's just inside joke. We talk a lot behind the scenes. We struggle with each other. We go through all the stuff. We have a lot of stuff that y'all just don't know about. And sometimes as imams, it be real stuff. That be real stuff. But later, when we think of it, it's funny sometimes. So it just, everyone got a funny bone. Don't worry about it. So please excuse the laughter and the jokes. It's inside. It's just poured on the outside.
Matter of fact, just real quick, like last time I was in Gambia, something was bothering me, and I was like up to here with it. I was tight. I like, man, I need to talk to somebody. So called the imams, right? I'm like, this is happening, that's happening, and that's happening. These guys just start making jokes. I couldn't do nothing but laugh.
Oh my goodness. All right, let me answer the question by first publicly saying, for my particular community at Masjid Muhammad of Atlantic City, mashallah, you guys are tremendous in your support for the work that I do, particularly as an imam, that we do on these platforms. I couldn't ask for a community that supports an imam like they support me. Like I can't. And a lot of times I don't express that because I'm a very pushy guy. Like, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. I don't believe in, I don't sit back and smell the roses. That's just me. But I do have to admit, I couldn't ask for a better group of supporters. Like, my community is, I have a hear and obey community, right? They hear and they follow. Whatever they do, their resources, their support, whatever. Imam Amin says something, they with it. And I can't ask for nothing better than that. So even though I'm pushy, even though I be pounding, I do appreciate that. But I'm thinking 100 years down the line when we're all gone, and y'all know that about me, right? When we're gone, I'm thinking about what we're gonna, so I'm doing our part now. From that, as for the online community, what can I say? Y'all my family, right? Y'all don't have to deal with the rough stuff, right? So my local community gets the rough stuff, and y'all get the smiling, and the happy guy. If you think I'm rough now, you ain't seen nothing. Don't move to Atlantic City. If this is rough for you, don't move to Masjid Muhammad. I warn you, right? So for me and our community, it's been nothing but increased support daily. It's mad love. and I appreciate it, right? So even though I push, never think that I don't appreciate all of your sacrifice, all of your support. Wallahi, I am so happy with your work. Uh, and that's it. I mean, support. I can't. I can't say it is where I would like to see us, but we're going to be dead, and we still ain't going to be where I would like to see us. So I just have to say thank you, but don't stop. This ain't a thank you so we can rest. This is a thank you to recognize you, and let's get busy. We have a lot of work to do. We ain't even touched the surface. All these things we talk about, we have to do it because we're fighting a machine that has billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. So we got to go. We got to put it in with our little poor selves. We got to do the best we got, best we can. So that's me. No, but I am with you. I accept. May Allah reward you for all of your effort, all of your support, everything you do. But if you don't mind, if we're going to have one but if you don't mind, could you do a little more? Right? Like, that's it for me on that question. But the answer is an affirmative yes.
Yeah, I would like to add something if I can. As now that I think about it, I think the increased support, not increase, like where we could do, we had the freedom to do the things that we do. But I think one thing I have to say to my community, I appreciate that. I mean, I have free range. Like, there's no really, like, no one to really not say oppose me, but I don't get a lot of pushback. I mean, people just allow me to do and they trust me to do what I do. Of course, people don't agree all the time, but I just learned to, you just let that go away because, one of my teachers always told me, say, never let people worry about what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, if you know you're sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, you always got to check your own niyyah. But if you know you've been sincere, then you don't let nobody tell you that you're not. You know what I mean? Because really, there has to be a certain level of sincerity to kind of do this work, that there can't be no egos involved, because behind the scenes, this stuff is ugly and it's messy, and like we got to come online and laugh some of this stuff off, man, because, it's like if you don't, man, this stuff will overwhelm you, and at times it's enough to make you just like, and I often have times like this, man. Like, for what? Like, what do I have to subject myself to this for, man? I know how to get bread. I got skills. I I know how to do a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I could rap. You know what I mean? I could DJ. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I could do a lot of things. But I mean, choosing to do this work, because of a bigger cause, it's a lot. You know what I mean? So I do appreciate that with my community, that they don't really, they don't really bother me. I mean, I expect more from them because, at the same time, it also sometimes it feels like you're doing it by yourself, But at the same time, when you get those shouts out and people, they let you know, they appreciate you, and I've been told a few times, okay, what will happen to the community, if I leave and that kind of stuff. And for some time I'll be like, somebody show up just like I did. Like, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? So, Allah gonna take care of you, you know what I mean? It ain't just about me, but putting the communities on your back like we've had to do as Black imams, and trying to take it to the next level, maintain it, and create a vision for people. I would say that I get kind of good support for that. That nobody is like, there's always people behind the scenes that they don't like what we do. They got a problem, but the evidence produces itself. So mashallah. So we ask Allah for tawfiq.
I got one thank you that I want to do, and because really that question that Farouk asked, there is one individual, and I would like all of us to make dua for him and his family and his children his wife, and everything. You probably don't know him. He's here every time. He don't talk. He don't say anything, right? But this brother, for 30 years, he's been a description that Imam al-Ghazali mentioned for me. This brother's name, Rasuli Ikram. Y'all all know Rasul. But Imam al-Ghazali said, the true friend is one who will break himself into pieces to, let me rephrase that. He said, the true friend is one when things are falling apart for you, he will break himself into pieces to put you back together. One more time, let me get that right. The true friend is the one who, when things are falling apart for you, he will break himself into pieces to put you back together. This brother, for 30 years, never, unflinchingly, for 30 years, has been that for me. In every aspect of this work, he's been with me stride for stride, step for step, front line, sacrifice, all over the world, every step for 30 years. Even in the worst circumstances, this man, wallahi, if you find a person like him in your life, glorify Allah and make sujood. This brother, subhanAllah, I cannot speak highly enough of him, and it's enough. But since I'm thanking, if there is one person in the world that I would like to thank publicly, is this brother. I can't think of anyone in the world in this work, what we do, that has supported me more than him. I can't think of no one. No sheikh, no scholar. This brother, even when I was in rough circumstances overseas, he was there. He would pick up a phone, whatever needs to be done. And I've seen some hardships. That brother, boom, right there. And we laugh. But that one right there, may Allah reward him. And I would like all of us to keep him specifically in our dua and mention him by name. Barakallahu bikum. It's the least I can do. I could never repay him for his brotherhood, but mashallah, if we could have a bunch of people make dua for him, maybe it will be some sort of compensation.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. May Allah bless him and increase him and all that's good. I want to say something, and I think also Furqan had a good question. I hope you could put it up on the screen. I think it's his last comment. But when you both were speaking, I was thinking like a lot of times, like for example, sometimes I put people in position of authority in the community, and then I regret it. Not because they can't do the job or they're not good people, nothing like that. It's just that sometimes when you're in leadership, you see how things really are, and it can be heartbreaking. And so sometimes I see people like actually get sad of the state of the Muslims, because when you're in leadership, you don't have the luxury of having rose-colored glasses on. You know, you see other people, you see how they're moving and how it's detrimental not only to themselves but the community as a whole. And if you have other people with you in a community that's working, that can be heartbreaking, and everybody can't take that. Sometimes people get so sad that they themselves are like, oh man, I didn't know it was this bad, I'm going away. But that thought just came to my mind when you all were speaking. A lot of times we think the only leader in the community is the leader, meaning the imam. But everybody that's helping and supporting, their leaders too. And a lot of times they see what other people don't see. Sometimes it'll break your heart. And sometimes I'll be watching, my colleagues get heartbroken. I'm like, man, maybe I shouldn't have did that to him. Maybe I should have given him that position, man. Man, I be feeling bad sometimes. But Furqan said, for the leadership of communities that's not a part of your online Jamaat, but listen regularly, what advice would you give to take back to our community? Well, for me, first thing I would say is that I think we have to encourage our people to be present, not only online, but in the flesh. So all of us who have communities, whether they're part of our community, any of our 3 communities or other communities, you need to start showing up in the flesh, in person. These classes that we teach here should have the equivalent on the ground in the masjid. That's number one. And just in general, my second advice is that those of us who are part of our, as you say, online Jamaat, I've been saying it from day one. I think you all need, if you're unaligned, you don't have a Jamaat, you just in your city, wherever you at, you need to become part of something, especially if it's Ahl Sunnah. And if it's not, I think you need to be active in creating it or building it or rebuilding it or repairing it or whatever. And if that's not possible or practical, I firmly think you should make hijrah. You should move to one of these 3 communities, Pittsburgh, Atlantic City, or Camden. That's my opinion. Imam Amin don't want y'all though. Go to Camden first, man. Go to Atlantic City first.
No, I love you too much. Do not come to Camden.
I think when they come visit you, you won't have to try too hard to convince them not to come.
You ain't going to the aquarium. Don't come down this way.
Abdullah, that's all I got to say.
Imam Faheem, you got something for that?
I do. Yeah, just get back to good old fashioned showing love for each other for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Many of us, we've been Muslim for a time, we remember a time that, a lot of the discussions that we having, at the base of it, none of that stuff mattered. Back where you met a Muslim, you was happy when you heard someone get a salam. You was happy to see someone that you never seen in your community before. You were happy to see someone that you didn't see since last week, you know what I mean? And just show the love that you would expect to see from somebody. That's it. Go be outgoing, be generous, be kind, be attentive, be welcoming, try to look for cues if somebody's trying to indicate something to you that they might need an ear or they might need some help. Go out of your way. And then, if people are going to be watching you, just be just live the sunnah, of the Prophet ﷺ. Kindness and love are the basis of it. You know what I mean? Just be kind to people and just give them the basic humanity that they deserve. And that's just for regular people. Then Muslim, you go out of your way and just do it. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to talk to people, learn how to respond to people, learn how you want to, the things that will make you say certain things that you shouldn't say. Think about what you're going to say first. And whatever skill you have, you offer, we got hella cooks just on this online family. Take a moment one day after Jumu'ah and bring some treats, maybe for Fajr or an event, take the initiative to bring some donuts and coffee, do something that someone can, witness that, and then it'll start to spread, just really get back to showing love, you know what I mean? And bring it back to our communities and show people how to do it. I was just thinking about this real quickly, some of the things, you read many times we have criticism about the young people and some of the things that they do. And some of the criticisms involve like, man, these young people are crazy and we didn't do stuff like that, but someone didn't show them. Whenever you see a young guy that's angry all the time, or a young woman who doesn't know how to act like a lady, they've been deprived of something. You know what I mean? They've been deprived of something. And sometimes, we just got to go back and show them an alternative to what they've been deprived of. You know what it is nowadays for people to speak to each other, and how strange it is. You be out and about and you speak to somebody, and sometimes it takes a lot of energy. You might see a young person and be like, "Hey, good morning, young man. What's up?" Like, okay, or they just looking at you. Or nowadays you'll see people walking around on their phones, not even paying attention. And, but just little things you could do to, brighten up somebody's day, the smile is sadaqah, so many things. Just what we already have. What we already have is plenty, it's more than enough. We just have to start using it, inshallah. But those who listen regularly, just, be loving, kind, and friendly, and be sincere, inshallah.
So I know for this question, the biggest thing that I would say to take back to your community is that they should learn the proper methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah with no mixing of deviant ideas. Pure, traditional, classical Sunni Islam. For me, that's a non-negotiable item. So if anything you take from here, take that. And then if you take that, add to it a love for us as a people and building our communities as a people. But that's secondary to learning the deen properly. So for me, that's a non-negotiable item. We have to stop having on the fringe understandings of Islam. These ideas that we just get accustomed to that is so foreign from our tradition, and it just passed on from generation to generation of incorrect understandings of Islam and justifying it. No, get rid of that stuff. Slowly but surely, we need pure, unadulterated, Sunni, Ahl Sunnah, globally, historically connected Muslim communities. Asha'ira, Maturidiyya in Aqidah, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, Hanbali in fiqh, and people of Tasawwuf. That's the biggest thing, in my honest opinion, that you could take from us. And then set up curriculums where people learn the deen properly, and bring in teachers and bring in scholars. Then the other things. The other thing, when you saw us waving our hands, I say that because oftentimes people want to migrate to your community, but they don't want to work. They think, I'm going to come to the community, it's all set up and it ain't no work. And then when they get here, you be like, man, it ain't nothing but work. Yeah, that's why I told you stay home, because you ain't really ready to work. You can relax in your own locality. If you come here, it's going to be grinding, on the ground, work. It's just the pictures you see. On the ground, it's hard work. It ain't a bunch of beautiful African-American Islamic summits, right? It's work. Hardcore daily sacrifice. If you're not cut for that, this ain't the time to come to Atlantic City or Camden or probably Pittsburgh. These communities is communities where you got to come in, sleeves rolled up, ready to break yourself, fool, right? If you ain't cut like that, you just want to come relax, these are the wrong places to come. Here is work. So when we say that, don't make my job harder by coming not wanting to work, just wanting to relax and be catered to. No, your catering is online. When you get offline, it's work, right? It's work. And so that's what we mean by that. Not that you're not welcome. Visiting is one thing, but if you come in just to chill, please don't make my job more hard. It's difficult enough. I don't need extra people chilling. I need workers, people who's willing to sacrifice their money, their bodies, their time, everything for this mission. If you're not willing to do that, just visit and you're welcome, and then go back home, right? Now you get my point. So that's what I think. That's safe. Wasn't that why? I That's why I was waving. Was that similar to why y'all was waving?
I'm glad you clarified that, man, because I'm saying it with the intention that it's understood that you expected to come out here and work. But I'm glad you made that distinction, because maybe, I'm saying one thing, maybe they ain't hearing it. So you are expected to work. Because a lot of times people complain, man, I can't find this type of teacher nowhere except online, right? Well, that's part of the problem. You need to create it where you at or move to where it's at. But that's a good point, because a lot of us think that somebody else is supposed to do the work. We have to do the work ourselves. I also want to double down on what you said earlier about being unapologetically Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah and not compromising, not mixing and matching, and none of that stuff. I think that's so extremely important, because it's actually hurting the people, and it's helping people stay on the wrong path. It's so much so that, and I know people may not like this. I'm like what? I'm like, is that serious? If I'm unable to give the Juma khutbah, for example, and I can't find no one else to deliver the khutbah that's Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the doors are locked. Go to Juma someplace else. That's how serious it is. No straying. I don't care how popular it is. If I have any control of it, none of that Wahhabi or default Wahhabi or default Wahhabi by another name or anything else like that will be preached from this member.
You're a
And I think if we ain't like that, we're playing. And if we ain't like that, either we playing or we don't realize how serious this stuff is, and we don't realize how destructive it is. So I think if you're not that serious, then you're just playing around. You don't think it's that bad. You just think it's worse semantics. It's all the same
Hey, and guess what? People look at that as extreme, but that's because they don't realize what we're up against. And guess what? It's like that. How do you think that the Saudis got control of Mecca and Medina? They were pushing that stuff. And if you don't be like that, next thing you know, they'll be changing your whole doctrine in the masjid. And you will be an innovator and an idol worshiper and a grave worshiper and a deviant, whirling Sufi that needs to be warned to get and need their back broke. You forgot that one, right? May Allah break his back. Dang.
That's the kind of du'as they make. Yeah.
Either or dua. May Allah guide you or break your back. You stricken the law, man. What's going on?
All right, we got to stop, inshallah. I hope we have some benefit. May Allah make it easy for us all.
Everybody share Imam Amin's classroom this morning on all Wahhabi Salafi platforms. What the waving and all that. Narration for Ali, put all that. And say you co-sign it when you share it.
And don't worry, tomorrow I have a research gift from our brother Abdullah, who gave us some research work to do. And I stepped up to the challenge, inshallah, and I will share it with you tomorrow morning. It will be of benefit, inshallah, in the knowledge of hadith. And coming up, we can't advertise no more, can we? For the hadith program?
Yeah, you can mention it.
That's next week, right?
Yeah.
So
Not this week, next week.
What you mean? This coming right? No, the week after. All right. In 2 weeks. Yeah. In 2 weeks, we will be converging on Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What's the name of that place, Isla? The corner store, La Corner Store.
Oh,
Yeah.
We
around the
will
block
all
from
be going to
Masjid.
the corner store. We will be all going to Masjid Mutman in Pittsburgh. La Corner Store.
French, by the way.
I'm sorry, I don't know what the heck tonight got into us. I don't know what was in this coffee. You know that one with that big old spray painted sign, La Corner Store?
That somebody wrote with their hand.
Yeah, but we in the hood now.
The landscape changing.
But the love is there, and the food will be there, and the brotherhood and the sisterhood, and we're going to get some knowledge. Don't miss this class, this session. It's going to be off the chain, inshallah, and it will be the beginning of a lot of work that we plan on doing. And trust me, Imam Naeem and Imam Faheem, I appreciate this is something I've been wanting to do in our community for a long time. So I can't wait for us to do it ourselves. So may Allah reward you for putting together Imam Naeem and Sister Samira. I know you're doing all the work truly, and he's just taking the credit.
Samira don't do nothing. She lazy, man.
You know, and fancy flyers and all this stuff. I know who's doing the real work around here. But inshallah, we'll see y'all all together at that meeting, inshallah. Barakallahu bikum wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bisir asrar al-Fatiha. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. What hotels are close? La Hotel. It's right around the corner in La Hotel.
Email us. Everybody who RSVP got an email with information in there. But email us if you haven't gotten it, inshallah.
Le Hotel Le Fleur.
You can go to the corner store, La Hotel, and you can go to the restaurant to get a little food. All right, man. I love y'all. Barakallahu bikum. See y'all in the morning.